welcome. So it's been an interesting week for them. So let me get the dirt because we'll talk about me later.
Lord.
First of all, we want to welcome Nick back to work. Thank you for coming to work, Nick.
Hey, I'm happy to be here.
About 3 months. Yeah.
It's not been that long. See how you do. It's one of those things who people are at home who may be watching right now, they will be able to see all of us in action when they actually watch the video component later this week.
Exactly.
So one of the things is you need to know we're not ignoring you on Instagram and IG. We're purposely making sure that we have clean video to produce and move forward when you all share this video and like it. So thank you. But it's been a busy week and I'm excited to be here.
We're glad to have you here with us, Nicholas, because you ain't been here in a minute, honey. It feels the presence. Oh my God, your presence.
Well, I've been reading some of the comments and they're like, one, Nicholas is too professional. 2, Nicholas must be a Republican. And 3, Flame, why don't you fire Nicholas? So guess what?
1, Nicholas is not a Republican. 2, yes, he will say some outlandish shit, but so will I. And 3, that nigga ain't going nowhere. He right here.
I'm right here.
And even when he in Arkansas, that nigga right here. Now, when his contract is up, not only will he might not be here. Hi, Lauren. Welcome, Lauren. You've been a busy beaver this week too. Where you been? What you been doing?
So I went to Atlanta for 2 of my best friends' graduations. One graduated from Georgia State Law School and got her MBA at the same time.
Nice.
So she's got a JD and an MBA. Very proud of her. And then my other best friend finally graduated from Spelman, actually. She had to defer for 2 years, and then she got into the workforce. It's hard to get back into school once you've been working and making money. So she finally did it, and I'm very, very proud of her. So I went to Atlanta to celebrate her, and both of them, actually, and had a little fun, saw some old friends and hung out, and I got back at 11 p.m. last night.
And you and I were talking about before Flame came in that we don't recover the same way we used to, Lauren.
Absolutely not. I feel old as hell. Oh my God. I had a red eye going out and
I can tell you what I can tell you what it is about the traveling now. It's the mask. The mask make the trip seem longer. I don't take mine off. I'm telling you, I've been traveling too. The mask to me seems like it makes the trip longer because I want to take my mask off and breathe.
Do you sleep on the flight though?
I used to, Lauren, but I get real nervous about sleeping on flights now. I be scared somebody gonna be touching me in my sleep and stuff.
That's why they seem longer to you. Me, I go to sleep on any flight.
Lauren, the minute I sit down,
I'm
out.
Knocked.
And I used to get upset because I always missed that meal service.
That's some black people shit right there. Because I'm not going to sleep. I need to see what's happening.
Really?
No, I'm not.
I will nod in and out, but I never have a deep sleep because I'm not comfortable. I need to stretch out.
Oh no. Well, I mean, I have status on Delta too, so I'd be upgrading for free. I flew black first class. So,
See, all that. She didn't even have to do it. You see what I'm talking about?
I'm just
this
saying.
is what I'm up against, ladies.
No.
Don't try to fix it. Don't try. See, when you work for these major corporations, not laughing on her other job, and you get all these perks first class and stuff. Not like I don't like it because they flew my black ass first class
But
too.
just say, I put you up on some travel game when we traveled together. You got a new favorite hotel in Atlanta now. That's the only place that you'll stay.
All that. My legs weren't stretched out because I was in.
I'm just saying, you travel a little differently now since hanging out with me. So I'm just saying.
Let Lauren upgrade.
Okay, so speaking of masks, that can start off our first topic because today is a day that First Lady sent me a scripture this morning from. It was from Proverbs, verse 18, 16. And the quote is what, Nicholas?
Let me pull that up because I just saw
Because it's very appropriate for what's happening with me today. I'm doing something really major today. I'm taking some pictures with some legends, and I'm real excited about it. That's why I got no makeup on now because my makeup artist will be here at 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
The quote is...
Proverbs 16, a man's gift maketh room for him and bringeth him before great men.
Today, this great man's gift, gonna introduce him to some great men and women. Oh, so let's do it. Okay, speaking of our first topic.
And that is Proverbs 18:16 for those who want to look that up.
If you want to read that, baby, because I'm the great man and the woman. It should have said great he, she, we. That's what. Let me call God, because I'm going to need him to change that. He's not being politically correct.
Why don't we jump right on in, though, on the mask thing, since you brought that up?
Because our president, my president, the one we all voted for, has mandated a mask mandate that you don't have to wear your mask.
Right. He's repeating information from the CDC saying that now CDC guidelines are saying that if you're outdoors, you don't need to wear a mask. If you've been fully vaccinated, you don't need to wear a mask. However, individual stores and restaurants can decide what they want their business to do for those who may be patrons of their particular space.
Are you guys ready to not wear a mask?
Absolutely
and both
not.
You guys have been fully vaccinated.
Yeah.
I'm the one who has not been. You know my vaccine right here.
No, I sprayed myself already.
I'm not going to spray you, Lauren.
Like,
Commercial. I'm just saying, just in case for commercial they're watching. This is my vaccine for a whole year. Nick, you started it. What you think?
Well,
do you think he spoke too soon?
I don't know that. What I do wish, though, I believe that people were ready to do some type of unmasking. But I also believe that there's confusion around what people should do. Not just older, but mostly older are still in a space where they want to continue wearing their mask because they don't feel particularly safe not wearing a mask. I think that there are those who are frustrated and tired of wearing a mask. What I don't like is that I feel like the ownership or the responsibility of policing those who do and do not wear masks is falling on employees who should not have to bear that responsibility. I just saw the interaction that one Costco employee had with Rick Schroeder.
Yeah.
How does this guy argue with Rick Schroeder, who, you know, is a celebrity? You know, he should not be in a position where he has to demand that Mr. Schroeder wear a mask before he enters into Costco.
Yes, he should. I don't give a damn about him being a celebrity. He is a human, and he could give me coronavirus. He could give me.
I guess I don't want that employee in the spot where he has to constantly be in the.
And I hear you say what you said, Nicholas. But celebrities have to take responsibility just like everybody else. If there are rules and we all have to follow rules, if this store says that in order to enter our store, and they do have the signs out front, upon entering, you must wear a mask. You either follow rules or shop somewhere else.
No, that I hear. I just don't like Rick Schroeder making that guy the bad guy and putting him on social media.
Well,
so Josh, you're telling me I can't walk
source.
into the store. I can't walk in and putting that guy didn't have to be on his Instagram.
Exactly.
And all
But
that.
let's go back to the source because Rick Schroeder's cheese slid off the cracker many years ago. Go back and do your research on Rick Schroeder. Ricky Schroeder been a cuckoo patty for a long time. He was a cute little blonde boy, but he grew up to be a maniac. He did. Eccentric, over the top. Go back and do y'all research. Years ago, he came out with some kind of political thing. He was, and some kind of religious thing. He's a special. Woo, he's special sauce. I said it.
I mean, I personally think that the CDC is trying to incentivize people to get vaccinated. I really think that's what this comes down to because we're seeing this huge decline in people getting vaccinated. And honestly, coming from a marketing background, you always have to incentivize people to get them to do something. So I think by saying like, oh, if you're fully vaccinated, you can be outside, you don't have to wear a mask. And now indoors, you don't have to wear a mask either. I think they're trying to get more people vaccinated. I do think that it's grossly irresponsible on the CDC's part and on Joe Biden. I mean, he is the president. I get he's leaning towards the scientists and the experts, so he's trying to put some trust back into that. But to put the onus on these corporations to decide when and where you can wear masks and this whole honor system, I think is stupid. Considering before, considering before you had Karens and everybody else that didn't want to wear masks and were saying that you're violating my rights, and now you expect these people to be honest and say, "Oh, I've been fully vaccinated." Well, where's the proof?
Honesty.
And so you're putting everybody at risk to have the rates of infections of COVID go up. Right. Bottom line, it's not
so
smart.
I can just come in the room and say I've been vaccinated, and everybody who follows me knows that I am completely against taking the vaccine. I am not telling nobody else what to do, and y'all gonna believe me. See that honor system. Exactly. I can't honorably get stopped at a stop sign and think I'm going to honorably get home by an officer.
Right. But I think where that honor system comes in is the idea is that I'm supposed to, as a vaccinated person, my responsibility is to communicate that so that if someone who is not vaccinated is in that same space, I should then say, well, I've been vaccinated, but to help you feel more comfortable, ma'am, I have no problem wearing a mask because if that helps you feel more comfortable with me wearing a mask so that we can be in the same space, I, as a good steward, should want to do that.
First or second show we ever did for Laugh and Learn, what did I say? People do not want to be, Americans do not want to be told what to do. This ain't got nothing to do with race. Americans do not want to be told. Don't tell me what to do. That's how we feel.
Yeah, I just don't think that this is a good idea at all. It's just, and the other thing too is, I don't know, I mean, we can get into this a little bit, but some people may also not want to disclose that they have been vaccinated either, because that can go into HIPAA violations if we want to talk about that too. So there's just too many layers of irresponsibility to this that I think that it just wasn't thought through. Right. The whole focus is let's get people vaccinated. So how do we do that?
But Nick made a very valid point yesterday. We did coffee time yesterday morning, and Nick made a you cannot unring the bell. I personally, and I love Joe Biden. I voted for Joe Biden. I'm believing in Joe Biden. I'm patiently waiting for him to make some major changes that we can see and that will instill to make the country move in a forward direction. But I personally think that he spoke on it too soon. The numbers are declining slowly, but not done. And you, like Nicholas said yesterday, you can't unring the bell. You can't come back in a month and say if the numbers spike up that okay, now you got to start wearing a mask. I'm confused. What do I do?
But I think that's part of they're trying to normalize COVID at this point because from what I've read, COVID's never going away.
Right.
COVID is basically going to be like the seasonal flu. So we're going to see these
That's
spikes
like
in
Trump, the seasonal flu.
Well, we're going to see these increases and decreases in terms of infections all the time, and that there's going to be these huge spikes during the flu season because they're now normalizing COVID as the flu, basically. So it's never going away. We're never going to reach herd immunity. This is just something we're going to have to live
and I
with.
fear that these variants will always play a part,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
So then here I am vaccinated. What does that mean once I'm possibly exposed to someone who has a different level of COVID, right? Does that variant change then and become something that I'm not protected against? So I think there's so many things we have to continue considering. But going back to the original point, what I don't like about all of this, are we masking, are we unmasking, is that it has left this area of ambiguity, and I feel like the policing of that has fallen on people who simply want to do their jobs. And
Right.
it's not, and it should not be on that employee at Costco to say, hey, Mr. Smith or Mr. Schroeder, wear a mask.
Because that man could lose his job and have Ricky Schroeder making a big stink over that.
Yeah.
Or at least be threatened by others who may say, oh, where was that guy? He told our Ricky no, you know.
Well, when y'all start following behind these celebrities, do your research because some of these celebrities, woo. And then, did you guys see the video that was up? The guy put up the video about people are shaming people for either A, taking the vaccine, or B, not taking the vaccine.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm not taking the vaccine. These are my partners. Both of them have been fully vaccinated. I'm not holding them accountable for that. This was their decision. This is my decision. You can't hold nobody's feet to the fire for that. I don't tell nobody not to take the vaccine. You do what the hell you want to do. You just know that vaccine or not, I'm spraying you. And if you did take the vaccine, I'm spraying you twice. Hi, baby. How are you? Just in case you turn kind of, zombie-ish and you want to, you see how shiny and good looking I'm looking, you might want to bite me.
I love that. There's something I want to mention to everybody, those who may or may not have seen this. Flame, you and I talked about this. I want to show this to everybody at home. I am holding what is called AirTag. AirTag. Have you all heard about this? Lauren, did you read about that?
I didn't.
So AirTag is a new little thing created by Apple. And what people have been doing, because it tracks everywhere it goes, but it doesn't make a sound. So both parents have been and couples have been placing them like in the liner of a boyfriend's jacket that he wears all the time. And wait a minute, I thought you were just doing that one show with Flame. Where you been? Well, you didn't go just straight to
you should have brought me one of those for my teenage daughter, baby.
Well, it's also one of those things where Apple is saying, hey, we are hoping that people are using these in good faith. And that's part of the question I want to open up to Flamettes. If you had an opportunity to track your teen, would you, or do you want to trust your teen to do the right thing, or do you want to trust your spouse? It's called AirTag, and it's only $24.
2 points.
Listen.
2 points. Yes, I want to track my teen. And 2, Apple made it. Tell me something. Do you want to be trusted? And you know who made it? Apple, Bill Gates.
Bill Gates
that
is
nigga
not
need
Apple.
one.
Bill Gates, not Apple, it's Steve Jobs.
That nigga dead, so we don't got to track him. We know exactly where he is. Baby, who is Apple? Which one is Bill Gates?
Microsoft,
yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I might have got him confused, but the nigga still need. Melinda, girl, have you heard about this?
So
No, I like it. Lauren, what you think?
I think we're one step away to being injected with microchips like dogs to track people.
We already got one.
This is the first
Here
step.
it is right here.
called
If
that
people
vaccine.
who talking about the vaccine
Yeah.
had chips, including me, somebody
Yeah.
point out a very valid point. You got a cell phone?
You got a
You got
chip.
internet?
Yeah.
You got cable? You already chipped. They already know exactly where you are.
and what you
Yeah.
watch and all of that.
I'm sure they're going to get lots of sales from that, though. I'm sure of it.
It's going to be interesting to see where that goes.
Especially in relationships, you just casually hug your boyfriend and maybe just put it on the back of something. He doesn't realize it. And then all of a sudden you got to track where he went, the mileage. And
So the
Why were
idea
you
is
here?
that, I'm getting one from my mom because in the house, misplacing keys or myself, I have mine on my little key ring so that I don't lose my keys or misplace my keys. But
Once
that's
you
the
have an
idea behind
iPhone to do that, use that?
it. No, as long as you have any Apple device, you can track it also from your
see, I
laptop
say
or
Apple.
anything.
I was like, I know it's
Yeah.
not Android.
Right.
It's not universal.
It's not universal.
They're going
Look
to
at
monopolize
my
that
face,
market.
y'all. Look at my
So-
face.
Apple's going to definitely lock it on down and keep it in-house.
I'm not into apples. I like bananas. I mean, I like Android.
I just need that. Yes, Miss Harriet is called AirTag, and they dropped them last week. So they
How much are they?
$24. Yeah.
You know you love your gadget.
I like a little gadget. I want to be able to find my way back home to YouTube.
It just took you long enough, honey. Okay, where we going? What's next?
We also kind of, if you don't want to open up to the Flame message, said we talked about rent. Lauren, Flame and I were just sitting here yesterday. I'd also just read an article about a landlord in Tacoma and what he's been doing. This landlord in in Lancaster, PA, he has spray painted the property showing the tenant's name and rent because since last year, how much they owe.
So, is that illegal?
Well, it's his property. So he's simply saying, hey, not even so much to shame the tenant as much as government. You keep telling people they don't need to pay rent. This is how much I'm owed. This is why I can't pay my property tax because I'm not collecting rent. The government needs to make a decision. Quit letting this just tabulate without letting us know what an end date is. So the question is kind of twofold, and I want to open this up to the Flamettes as well.
Well, hello, Lady Allison.
Is it okay to do that as a property owner? Do you have the right to display what you are owed on property that you own, or do you feel like a line needs to be drawn because it's shaming the tenant?
I mean, personally, I don't have a problem if you want to display that, you have this amount of money owed. I think putting the tenant's business out for the world to see is not okay at all. I don't think you should be doing that, but I'm just confused on what this, I think COVID as a whole has really just thrown everybody for a loop because I'm confused on what the process is. Like, I don't understand how property owners aren't being subsidized if they're not being paid rent. Just seems like people really didn't think this.
See, that's why some of you property owners should have took Section 8 because guess what? You still was going to get your rent, at least most of it. Allison, what you think?
Hi, folks.
Hi, Allison. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Allison. Allison Lewis. She's running for city council in Lakeland, Florida. So please follow her, donate to her. She got great policies and politics. She's young. She's educated. She's also a teacher of our kids. Allison, what you think about this whole rent moratorium? What y'all doing about that down there in Florida?
So you have to understand, because different states have different statutes. Understand that, ladies and gentlemen, and make your state statutes your friend, right? Because here in Florida, it's called the Florida statutes, right? And they have landlord and tenant. And so again, as I was sharing with Nick on yesterday, of course the government did not, and we as people, some of us did not go in and read the totality of the memorandum that was put out as it relates to the order, how it was going to go. Yes, they can collect your rent of what's being owed because you owe that. That's in the contract in which you sign, right? And understand there's a process to eviction. If you don't pay your rent for 2 months, Allison just can't go down to the courthouse and file an eviction. I have to give you certified notice. I then have to give you 3 days, right? There is a process to the said eviction. And then when you get to the eviction, now it becomes a plaintiff and defendant situation, right? We're in a litigation. And so I have to file responses. So again, ladies and gentlemen, before you get to eviction, before you get in front of a judge, you have at least about 30, 48 days to squash it with your tenant.
Well, Allison, my question would be, though, because you said that there's a 30 to 48 day period where you can kind of squash whatever's going on if you have some disputes between the tenant and the property owner. But can you give some insight to what happens after that time period? If the conflict is not resolved, what happens then?
Well, what happens then you proceed to court, right? So as an owner, right, I can't just say, even though, say Lauren, I could use you for an example, owes me $5,000 in rent, right? I can't go to the Polk County clerk of court and file an eviction against you, Lauren. I have to immediately send you notice, which is 3-day notice in the mail, certified, right? Those are steps, right? And then once that's not resolved, then I can move to the eviction process. Then it becomes what you call litigation, right? And you are granted to file a response. And most courts give you about 30 days to respond to it. I'm gonna say in Lakeland it's 7 to 14 days, but I'm to be on the safe side, 30. I'm gonna say 30 days, 20 to 30 days, and you have to file a response. Now, if you don't file no response within that time, right, then it's just an open case, and then you all really proceed to court. But if you file a response, do understand the judge has to read all that stuff. And then you both have to come to court. The judge has set a court date, right? You both have to come to court and make an argument. And then the judge determines, hey, do you owe him, right? Or how we gonna do it, right? Before they can proceed. But if you don't respond, if you don't do anything, understand that it could just go straight on through. And
well, see, that's what I think. That's what I've been saying. I think it's communication. If you
communication.
I've been renting for years. I'm renting now. I don't even own this house. I would like to buy this. I'm going to buy this house. But you have to communicate with your landlord. So if you fall on hard times, you can say, hey, look, if I don't know what's going on, I don't know what to do, you leaving me out in the cold. So even if you don't like your landlord, and we have those instances, we don't really get along, it's all business. The place I just moved from, it was all business. We had no relationship whatsoever. But I communicated with her. I never fell on hard times, but if I would have communicated with her to say, hey, look, I'm working on it. I'm going to get you blase Skippy. But when the pandemic first hit, when we first started doing coffee time, I told people, if you have the money, pay on your rent. Communicate with your landlord. I remember saying that when we first started going live, talking about this, when this first started happening, when they first instituted
because
that.
you always said housing needs to be a
That's
priority.
right, because if you don't talk to me and I'm the landlord, I don't know what position you leave me. And some of these landlords depend on the money, like you said, to pay property taxes, insurance, upkeep on the property, landscaping. You ain't giving me nothing, and you not communicate with me. I'm gonna file the proper paperwork to put you and your children out because you ain't told me nothing. You can't avoid this problem.
Not to cut you off, Lane, but I'm seeing a lot of the comments. Understand, ladies and gentlemen, I'm speaking from Florida statutes, right? I'm speaking from Florida statutes, right? And yes, it varies by different states, but I totally agree with you, Flame. It is all about, ladies and gentlemen, it is all about that communication. It's all about you doing your own research. My professors used to always say, there is no better research than your own, right? Get into and listen, everybody don't go to law school, right? But I mean, it's a lot of us know how to read, right? And so understand, just take some time to read on your leisure, to read your statutes on landlord and tenant laws. Take some time to read about, the school laws that they have in there. It's all broken down. And so that is what I encourage you all to do. And also just pay attention. Pay attention. Hold your local officials accountable to inform you about some things, right? And they also have programs in your city, right, that they have to educate people on these things, contingent upon the city, because they get money for this, right? Understand about the PPP, public-private partnerships. I can't stress that enough, ladies and gentlemen. These public-private partnerships drives the growth in your city. The healthcare drives the jobs, which is your PPP, public-private partnership. And what happens is that drives the people. Right?
I'm not laughing at you, Allison, but when you say PPP, I'm thinking about how many people got a PPP. Now, you can get that PPP loan to pay your back rent because your new rent is going to be free. Catch this. If you ain't got no business and you take out a PPP loan, they got a 13 by 12 sale waiting on you. If you can't prove that you have a business. So you'll pay your back rent because you're going to get some free rent for about 3 years.
There you
Real
go.
talk.
That ain't
so
I'm
not telling y'all, it ain't nothing for free. I teach my children that there is absolutely nothing for free.
Right. And I totally agree. So it's an operation, ladies and gentlemen, and to 246 people, understand how it operates. And that's where our people, Black and brown people, really perish, right? We fail to understand how the system operates. And so when you understand how the system and the totality of the system operates, then you will begin to understand some of the totalities and the situations that takes place within your backyard, right? And so do understand that, right? We have to understand the system. We have to change the operators of the system that we're all so tired of, right? We're tired of this system. But in order for the system to change, ladies and gentlemen, we have to change the operators. And who are the operators? The operators are the ones who we fail to participate in voting in our local election, right? So we have to understand that.
Well, I think moral of the story here is of Allison, and we can just basically sum up what you're saying is do your research, because like we said, everything from Florida to New York to California, every state is different when it comes to these rent moratoriums. Do your research. Make sure you elect the people that you want to elect. And as always, thank you so much, Allison, for giving
Thank
us
you,
your
Allison. And if you got the money, pay your damn rent. Let me tell y'all something. Here's the thing. Here's the catch on that. Because if I had been working 2 jobs because a lot of people, especially in California or New York, where the rent is exceptionally high, a lot of people are working 2 regular jobs just to make ends meet to pay the rent.
Right.
They spend more time at work than they actually did at home. So when the unemployment came in, they was getting an additional $600 a week. They were making more money sitting on their asses at home than they were working both those jobs. So I can enjoy my house. I wouldn't go back to work either. I'm saying people that I wouldn't have went back either.
But I think this is also goes back to what we've talked about before. That responsibility, I think it's easy to blame those who stayed home because they were getting extra money because of pandemic relief. But I would argue that companies need to be paying these people more to begin with,
Well, that's
so
it
that
right
that was not their available option, right? People don't want to not work. I think most people want to work. People enjoy either doing what they do or they find something else. I think there are people who enjoy working. But to suggest that people don't want to work and that those who are not going back to work, like some leaders are suggesting, I think is unfair.
I agree with that, Nick, because I think, too, in a lot of spaces is that the issue as well was some of our actual like parents couldn't afford to actually,
Thank you, Allie.
they couldn't afford to actually go to work because they had
Right.
issues with childcare and other things like that. So it wasn't just people are being lazy, and I think that's part of the issue with some of the
Absolutely.
narratives that some of these red state governors are trying to drum up as to why they're pulling out of these assistance programs for people.
My
because
state
they're
in
like,
particular.
exactly, like
Arkansas.
they're like, y'all are being lazy, and it's not that. But I saw some stats and I think in
And Lauren, even
Arkansas,
that, you and I have said this before, even the language lazy is suggestive in and of itself.
It's disrespectful.
And I've heard my governor use
Yeah,
that.
it's disrespectful.
Completely disrespectful.
But in terms of paying what you have to pay, like 92%, I think, of people's paychecks, like in Arkansas, goes to childcare. So it wasn't a matter of people being lazy. It's just people couldn't afford to send their kids to childcare and go to work. Getting this money was allowing them to actually care for their kids and provide for their kids.
You know, the catch is the same GOPs or the same people who was in position of power who didn't want to give the minimum wage raise are the same ones that saying that people are lazy. Don't call me lazy and you don't want to pay me for coming to work.
Yeah.
This ain't slavery no more, baby. It ain't free.
Right.
You can't visit the slave quarters without no money.
That and flame situations have changed, right? Yeah. We no longer live and grow up in the same communities like our parents did, right? There was a time when you knew Mrs. Miller down the street, Mrs. Jackson watched the kids till you came home from school. We have all moved. We've lived in different areas. Communities are split up. They're not the same way that they used to be. So now you have parents who are working and have to find a way to care for those children.
Yeah.
What do? You know, childcare is more expensive than rent.
Yep.
Childcare is no joke. Mm-hmm. When you sit back and you just friends who are paying for childcare, you're like, how much? Whoa, can you do 2 for 1? You know, since they're watching both your kids, but that's not the way it works at all.
Yeah.
It is prohibitive for many parents to try to work and also afford childcare. So yeah, definitely something has to be done.
So you think people should stay home? You don't think they're being lazy?
I think that we need to do more where we are working collectively.
I think that the minimum wage should be raised.
Exactly.
And
100%.
That's the foundation of this, is if the minimum wage was raised, and even in some states like California or New York, we have one of the highest minimum wages, and it's still too expensive to live
Lauren,
here.
what do you do if you're working 40 hours a week and you can't afford rent?
Thank you.
That's ridiculous.
And you still got a child to take care of. So I think at a minimum, the minimum wage needs to be raised, and housing needs to be more affordable. Those two things go hand in hand at this point.
I remember my rent when I was renting one of my places in San Francisco. My mother came to visit. My rent was a one bedroom, $2,500 a month. My mother said, "Oh, you got to live all fancy," and I'm like, "This is not at all." But rents are so different than what they paid back in, when my mother was. I'm like, Mom, I'm telling you, that's how exorbitant rents have become in the state of California.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
New York worse than us.
You agree?
Yeah.
You would be hard pressed to find a clean 1 bedroom for $1,000 in California.
You can't. That's unheard of.
Okay,
that's unheard of.
Not even
ridiculous.
in the worst.
It's
Okay,
unheard of. It's
yeah,
unheard
I
of.
think
You're
people
not.
think they're like, oh, Nick, you're just trying to be
No.
all, and I'm telling you that's not the case.
No.
California is ridiculous.
Yeah, New York as well. A shoebox is at least $2,000 a month. at least in New York.
We were talking about moms earlier and just people paying rent. There was another story that came up that I want to kind of segue to that I thought was interesting. And Lauren, this kind of touches into your area simply because you did play sports. You were an athlete growing up, volleyball team. A coach on the volleyball team was told she had to leave because she went into the lobby to nurse. This is in Colorado. So her mom had a new baby and she wanted to nurse her baby. She just wanted to simply nurse on the sidelines because she's coaching the team. They disqualified her, told her she had to leave, and they disqualified the team because nursing they found to be pornographic and not acceptable.
Where was this?
This is Colorado.
This
is Colorado. And I'm just surprised by that because I'm thinking this is 2021. This shouldn't even be an issue now. Volleyball coach was asked to sit out the tournament because not that page. Volleyball coach sat outside convention center after tournament director bars her from nursing her infant. So they told her she had to leave.
I think it's ridiculous and that people need to get over women nursing in public. We bring you life. The only reason why you're here is because of us. So just respect us. Let us do what we got to do to nurture and bring up life and just move on. I'm really sick of that because we're having so many issues around women. Like I saw this morning, Mississippi took this abortion case to the Supreme Court. It's just women. We really rule the world, and just respect us and let us do what we need to do. I'm so sick of
the hypocrisy of them canceling that woman because they thought she was doing something pornographic by taking her baby into the lobby when slave black women had to pick out in the field and pull their titty out in front of everybody to feed your baby.
Right.
And this was a white woman.
Yeah.
Child.
And
you know what? I'm leaving.
I don't know if we want to get into the deep topic that we talked about because we are talking about kids right now. This might be a good segue to talk about what's happening in the Middle East.
Yeah.
Do we want to do it?
Yes, because we started this morning. We're going to bring Vesper in on this because Vesper was very passionate about... Vesper, put your hair on, baby. We bringing you in. Was very passionate about the conversation this morning about what's happening with the Israeli and the Palestinians over in the Middle East.
Yeah.
And it is not a topic of expertise for me because...
But share your thoughts, though. I think
my thoughts are that I'm so sorry, and it's such a tragic thing. I'm watching the news. I'm seeing them finding babies and dead women and everything up under the rubble. And I don't want to sound heartless or as if I don't care, but I kind of don't. I kind of want y'all to fix the problems in America first with black people before you tell me I need to go over to these people's backyard to help them fix their shit. Listen to me. If they and their homes being blown up by bombs because they mad over religion. But if me and Nick get stopped at a stop sign right now, they gonna see two black men in the car. They might open fire and my car's completely legit. I'm tagged, licensed, insured, and everything, and I drive like a maniac, but I drive legally. But I don't want to sound heartless and say, but fix America first before you going over there trying to fix somebody else's shit.
Vesper, before you start, I'm just going to let us share our points really quickly and we'll bring you in. So, Nick, go ahead.
Yeah, I think my issue is this, that because I've gotten a lot of DMs, hey, you guys really need to talk about this. You really need to talk about this. I've been purposely restrained in my comments simply because it is not an area of expertise for me. It is not something, because I do believe it's much more than we in the media tend to we tend to try to find both sides to every story. And I'm not sure that this is proportional. I don't know that Israel, that operates under a dome, which is literally called the dome, because they have the ability to deflect much of the armory coming in from Palestine to them. So it's not proportional. The amount of ammunition, destruction that Israel is able to impose upon the Palestinians is not proportional. That having been said, the United States has always had a long stance where we just stand with Israel and we kind of dismiss everything else. I think that's shifting. I think that a lot of progressive Democrats have been pushing back on that stance that America has long held, specifically Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. So when we have not spoken about this, it's not because we don't have compassion and empathy for those who are struggling, because no one should have to live like that. But that is not an area where I have spent enough time to give a whitewashed answer on what I think needs to happen, because I'm not a policy expert. But what I do know is that what is happening right now is not proportional, and something needs to change because there are innocent people getting decimated in the crossfire.
Here too.
Okay,
Right here,
so
too.
I'm gonna say what I gotta say.
Come on, Lorraine.
And it's not that I'm an expert in this field. I'm not about to sit up here and say that I am, but these are my feelings, though. What I feel, and Vesper, we see you, but we're gonna bring you in just a second. What I feel is, yes, does something need to happen in America for Black people? Absolutely, 100% agree with you on that, Flame. My issue is, though, I think for the United States to stand by and not do anything, I think is completely wrong, because we've added to this issue, if we're going to talk about it, okay? Palestine has one of the oldest religions pretty much in the world at this point. They have. And the United States was a part of assisting in Israel taking and overtaking them. They're colonizing them. That's what's happening. Similar to what happened in this country when you talk about the Christopher Columbuses and everybody else that came over. This America was colonized. So the U.S. assisted in Israel colonizing Palestine, and now we're seeing a new blow up because of it. So for us to sit back and be idle and not do anything, I think is grossly irresponsible.
And then once we gave you your places, we're like, well, we need to move you again. So now we're taking land back from you that we had given you. So how do you feel as a Palestinian when this continues to happen time and time again, and every policy seems to favor Israel and keep a certain group continuously oppressed?
All we're doing is assisting in colonizing them. And so for us not to send any assistance and not to do anything, I think is absolutely irresponsible and wrong. Palestine, they had their place in the world, and they keep being pushed. You have people being murdered. You have children being murdered. And Israel is 100% wrong. Bottom line, that's my feelings.
White chocolate, what you got? What you got?
See, I'm not an expert on this either. I've done my own research. I have dyslexia, so it's hard for me to read. But I picked up the audiobook that Jimmy Carter put out. Okay, he called this apartheid when he called this apartheid when this was taboo, and he got canceled for it. But I've always agreed with Jimmy Carter's stance on this. And the thing about it is, we are their biggest ally. We are the one that is advocating for them in the UN. We are letting them have carte blanche on everything that they want to do. And Flame, you're right. Like, we have to fix our own stuff. It's really hard for us as a country to condemn another country for doing something that we're already doing. And my biggest point that I really want to make is killing of anyone is barbaric. Yep. And it has to stop. Period.
Yep.
Vesper, thank you.
Yeah. I mean, and for me, when I opened up this can of worms earlier, all I was bringing up was the fact that John Ossoff and 28 other senators actually stood up and said, we want a ceasefire. And for me, that's kind of like, the bare minimum, but it's a big deal. It's a very big deal for senators to actually stand up and speak out against the Israeli state and what they're doing to the Palestinian people. And for me, this isn't about religion at all. Like, you can look at it from that side, but it's really not. It's about politics. I have a lot of Jewish friends. I have a lot of Palestinian friends. It doesn't matter. Killing is wrong, and that's all it needs to, like, if we just stick to that point, that's all that matters, because all of the other arguments fall apart.
So we just have Jericho just entered the chat. Welcome, Jericho. Thank you
Jericho,
so much for coming in.
Welcome.
Devil.
So I'm sure you've been listening. We've seen you guys. We've seen your comments, rather. So please give us your insight to this. What do you think?
So I want to thank you first for allowing me to join your feed, because oftentimes we are talked about, but we're not included in the conversations. And so I have to push back very hard about this religious argument, because Palestinians are not a religious identity. We are an ethnic identity, right? And so before Israel was created in 1948, we had Palestinian Christians, we had Palestinian Jews, we had Palestinian Druze, we had Palestinian Muslims, and we coexisted, right? It was the epicenter of the Middle East, where we were all able to get along. We shared the culture, we shared similar languages. Now, we had our own internal conflict. Internally, like the Muslims had their own issues and the Jews had their own issues, but that was internal, right? And so the religious idea is completely debunked. This is not a religious conflict, it's an ethnic conflict. The second point is about the historical piece, right? To say that your ancestors lived here 2,000 years ago and somehow you have a right to be here. I think that connects with the So first of all, I'll make 2 points around the historical piece. The first piece is around if you look at the history of the landscape, you will see that it has been dominated by so many different people and different powers. So to claim that one group has exclusive authority and exclusive rights to this land, you have Romans, and you have Egyptians, and you have Arabs and Greek and Persians, Babylonians. I mean, there is a laundry list of people who have inhabited this land. So to claim that one group from the past has a right to come in and to claim exclusive authority and power is absolutely abhorrent. And so I want to move now, if the religious argument is not going to work, and the historical argument doesn't work either, because there have been so many people inhabiting the land, then the next question is the moral question. And so as an indigenous people don't like to consider us indigenous people. We are an indigenous people. We've been on the land for hundreds of years. We're descendants of Canaanites, 2000 BC. So even the historical argument doesn't work for them. But my point here is that it's about erasure. It's not about religion. It's not about the history. It's about erasure. What sparked this, like the reason why the world is on fire right now, the reason why the Middle East is on fire is because of a video that went viral. And I want to show you the video. If you give me a chance, I know I've been talking a lot, but we don't get heard. I want to show you this video of why we are where we are.
We hear you, baby.
You're listening? Thank you.
We listening. We hear you. Come on with the video.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, Jericho, I thought you were a troll for a long time, Jericho. I never thought you was real, but now I see you and you're talking to me. Because you've been following me for a while, and so you never came on live. So I was excited when you said you wanted to come on. And that you're Palestinian, which is how we have this conversation, by talking to somebody that can relate way more than any of us, because you are part of that group. Thank you. Give it to us.
And I also want to respond to your comment about and I'm not a troll. I love you and I love the show. But I don't agree with you always, but I still like you. But I want to show you this video. I want to show you this video of how this, like, the reason why there's an eruption right now, the reason why there is a volcano is because of this video. It went viral. I'm going to show it to you, and I want you to tell me how you feel about it.
No, this is not your house.
Yes, but if I go, you don't go back. So what's the problem? What are you yelling at me? I didn't do this.
But
it's easy to yell at me, but I didn't do this.
You are stealing my house.
And if I don't steal it, someone else can steal it.
No one.
So this guy from New York City, he's Jewish, came to this neighborhood, Sheikh Jarrah in Jerusalem, and basically they're taking over. And the reason why this sparked a nerve for Palestinians is because in 1948, when Israel was created, 500 villages were destroyed. We were decimated, right? And so our people had to flee. If you look at the refugee population, we have over 5 million refugees in Lebanon, in Jordan, in Egypt, around the world. And so that moment in history was recaptured again. It's recaptured every day. The reason why this is not about religion and it's not about history is because there is so much vacant land on this fucking landscape. Why do you have to go to someone's house and kick them out? You can build your own house. These people have built their own homes. Build your own fucking homes. If you really care about coexistence and you really care about people coming together, then build your own home. Why are you dispossessing people, right? It's about erasure. They want to erase us from the landscape. And the reason why we know this is because the villages they take over, they rename them in Hebrew. They're Arabic. We rename them in Hebrew. The food is also reappropriated into Jewish names, couscous and hummus and all these are Arab foods. They're the Levantine. So it's not even like Iraqi food or Kuwaiti food. It's the Levantine, Lebanon, Palestine, Syria. So there is a systematic system of erasure. And the reason why this is connected to Black people, particularly Black people, and apartheid in America is because we pay $3.8 billion. That's $10 million a day to make Israel what it is today. right? We have an apartheid system. The Palestinians are fed up. And the last thing I'm going to say is that when we put out a call and said that we want to mimic the anti-apartheid South African movement, we want to boycott Israel. We created a movement. It's called BDS. If you Google it, you will learn about it. It has exploded. I mean, far before today. It was launched in 2005. It has exploded around the world. And in the U.S. today, they are creating laws to dismantle the movement. They're creating laws to criminalize people who boycott. So when we create a nonviolent movement, then we're criminals and we're ostracized and excluded. And so then when we respond to our violence with violence, where do we learn the violence from? I mean, it's the same. There are so many parallels to Black Americans and indigenous people around the world and in the Americas that it's devastating, right? I mean, and the heart of our, I mean, we talk about responding with militancy. Not all Palestinians, I mean, the majority of Palestinians do not respond with militancy to the apartheid system that we live in, right? And so there is a militant group. They do respond because they're living in a cage. They're ready to explode, right? And so the center of our movement is no justice, no peace. If we can't sleep at night, you can't sleep either.
I like that one. Jericho, I want to ask you a question before you go any further. Do you agree with Joe Biden pulling the troops out of Israel?
Oh, no, I'm done.
Wait a minute.
I'm done.
But do you agree with Joe Biden pulling the troops out of the Middle East?
You know, Joe Biden, he's just really disappointing when it comes to this matter. And it's not just a Joe Biden thing. I think pulling the troops out is a symbolic move. They don't need troops there anyways. I mean, so I think it was just a decision. It's a symbolic move to say, look, we're not complicit here, but we pay for this. And diplomatically and politically, I mean, the UN recently, if you Google it, you'll see that the UN, the Security Council, proposed a resolution for a ceasefire, and the U.S. blocked it. The U.S. does not want peace. The U.S. can't have peace. And if you ask why countries like Australia and France and the U.S., all these countries, white supremacist, settler, colonial countries, support Israel and South Africa. Israel supported South Africa. The apartheid system in South Africa, that was Israel. Israel supported apartheid South Africa. So let's talk about white supremacy, right, and settler colonialism, and let's have a real honest conversation. And so anyways, the point is that, like, it's not just financial, it's also diplomatic. When it comes to the UN, when it comes to our politicians, LGBTQ politicians are hostile against Palestinians. Even Black and brown politicians are hostile. I mean, there have been some really excellent, like Cori Bush, Rashida Tlaib, AOC, Jamal Bowen. So there have been some really excellent politicians. Like, there is a movement happening, but we have a long way to go.
Jericho, can I just tell you, thank you so much for coming on and sharing that information with us. This is stuff that we would have never known had you not been who was a part of that whole experience telling us. That's what Laugh and Learn is about. Thank you so much. And now I know you're not a troll, and you cute. Hey, Jericho!
And we do want to thank Vesper as well for coming
in
too.
We
appreciate both of you.
I just want to say one last thing before y'all have me off. Let's just call this what it is. It's ethnic cleansing that the Israeli government is trying to do to the Palestinian people. They're trying to erase their history. And like I said, it just boils down to one simple fact. Killing of anyone is barbaric. We are in the 21st century. We shouldn't be allowing anyone to be getting killed. This is government sanctioned murder, and it has to stop. And it's the same thing going on here with the Black Lives Matter movement. Same thing applies.
Well, thank you guys. Y'all just opened it up for our next subject. Thank you, Jericho. Thank you, Vesper, because we talking about killing people. And the next subject Lauren brought to us today from South Carolina, right?
Yeah.
Come on with it, Lauren. Come on with it. Come on with it.
I was like, what did
that
I
was a
bring
hard
up?
turn. That was a hard
My
turn.
mind working today, baby. I ain't had no kids.
Well, before we move on though, this is the
Right.
last thing I want to say on this topic is I think that the main point that should be made about one saying that this is not something that the U.S. should be involved in. Like I said initially, the U.S. perpetuated what's happening now. So I think that there's a responsibility for them to do something. But to Jericho's point though, the U.S. doesn't want to get involved too much because then we have to acknowledge the colonization that's also happened here. We have to talk about slavery. We also have to talk about how blacks are being murdered.
Oh, I don't think we have to address that here.
No, but we do, because unless that's addressed, they can't actually take a proper stance at what's happening in the Middle East.
When have we ever done that? But to
see
your
what
point,
you see what
I
I'm
know
saying,
exactly
though.
what you're saying.
Yes.
But can you? That would require a level of awareness that I don't think this country genuinely wants. And I
They don't
think
wanna
that
do
there.
it.
And I would even argue there's some of us who don't know what that. Like, wait a minute. If I really have to start taking responsibility, hold up now.
Right, you
Hold
have to
up.
address
I
what
kinda
happened in this country.
I kind of like my government assistance. No, I think there are a number of things that are purposely designed to keep us trapped in a system. I genuinely believe that. And I know that that's an uncomfortable area for some, because I do believe that we live in a system, Lauren, that has been created to keep certain demographics in a situation of perpetual need. And I genuinely believe that they also say, oh, then I can also count on their vote, because as long as I keep kicking them another stimulus or whatever that thing is, if I continue to offer assistance for this, that, and the other. The problem with the United States not stepping in now, the United States has always operated as the world's police. Should that change? Absolutely. Should you worry about sweeping your own front porch before you sweep somebody else's? Absolutely. It's just not the way we operate.
So in a word, what Nick just said is that the U.S. is kind of like Ayanla fixing my life. They start some shit and then they leave.
No,
that's
that's
what they
for
do.
real.
They start some shit and then they leave.
Yes, but it's also too of not addressing our own shit. That's
Well,
also
that's
what
the
this
truth.
is,
They
too.
started
It's
shit
not
here, and then that's why they over there trying to fix somebody else shit, because they don't want to fix the shit right here.
Well, Europeans started the issue here with the indigenous folks, if we're going to, take it back there. But I'm just saying we have to address what's happening. Unless we address this, Israel and what's happening in Palestine cannot be properly handled. And that's why we're not talking about a ceasefire. That's why we don't want to do this. We're like, it's all of that. Because we're a colonized country, too, at the end of the day.
I really appreciate Vesper saying that nobody should be killing nobody. And speaking of that, Lauren Hogan, what happened today, girl?
Yes,
Tell it.
so we talked about this earlier. So South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster has signed a bill into law that forces death row inmates for now to choose between how they want to be executed, either by electric chair or by a firing squad.
I'll take firing squad.
So the state can restart execution after an involuntary 10-year pause. So this is coming back after being on a hiatus for about 10 years. So South Carolina had been one of the most prolific states of its size in putting inmates to death, but a lack of lethal injection drugs has brought executions to a halt. So McMaster signed the bill on Friday with no ceremony or fanfare. According to the state's legislature, it's the first bill that the governor decided to address after nearly 50 hit his desk this past Thursday.
Lauren, you know what? I feel like I'm embodying you on this one. This is so not about the firing squad or the electric chair. Let's talk about the fact that this state enjoys putting people to death. Let's talk about the fact that we have a state and a governor where, with little fanfare, he didn't need any fanfare. Where was he going to get the pushback, right? How about we know for a fact through the Innocence Project that many who are convicted are not necessarily guilty of those crimes, or at the very least deserve the opportunity for reasonable doubt to be entered into that conviction, if all things once again being legal, being equal with their representation, with their opportunity to examine evidence. We know for a fact that there are a number of people who are wrongly executed. So now, to shift that focus, because we're not saying we're going to change possibly the policies that have incarcerated many of these people, primarily of color, or at the very least, low economic status. Fair? We're not saying we're going to, you know what? Since we have a backlog where we don't have the injection material that we need for lethal injection, why don't we use that money to look at some of these people who have been convicted and who may be sitting here on death row? No, Nick, we're not going to do that. We want to kick back up these executions. So which would you rather, Mr. Parker? Would you rather get the electric chair, or would you rather have a bullet to the head? You got to be kidding me.
Shoot me. I needed to be over with quick. All the electric chair shaking and shit, and then let me tell you what made me turn against the electric chair. Let me just be honest with y'all. This is laugh and learn. Fucking watching the Green Mile when the man forgot to wet the sponge. I like that guy with the mouse. And he didn't with the sponge and baby all the puke and the smell. Oh no, blow my brains out. Just get it over with. Just, boom, I'm done.
That's not the point.
The point is, if I have to have a choice, if I'm on death row and I get a choice, which I would like to have, firing squad or either the electric chair, blow my brains out.
I think the moral of
I know
the
what you're
bigger
saying.
picture.
I know exactly what it is.
The bigger
I'm
picture
just saying.
here. No, I understand that. I mean, I'm glad we know if you have to be executed, how you would like to go. So everybody take note, just in case anything happens. But I think too, even what Nick was saying is that there's just so many examples of specifically black men that have been on death row and they've been falsely accused and they're being executed. We just finished talking to Jericho about ethnic erasure. This is just another form of this.
Side of it,
I know you were trying to make it funny, but we
nah.
gotta emphasize the point. Then we can make it
Well,
funny
that's
later.
what you're here for. What the fuck you think I hired you for? Just to be cute? Shit. There was a reason you got this job, Lori Hoagie. Good. Look, Marsha, come get your daughter.
No, but I'm just saying is that this is just another form of ethnic erasure, what we were just talking about in terms of, we couldn't put all of these, black people to death. So how can we, kick back up, making sure that we're still executing people. So, we can electrocute you or you can be, hit by a firing squad.
You get to choose. Come on down.
Like, how do you want to be murdered? There was, I saw.
If you think about it, it's kind of fucked up.
Kind of.
Like I'm choosing how I want to die. How about I don't want to die?
Yeah.
Not yet. I got some shit to do.
I mean, if we go back in time, the youngest boy to ever be executed in Alabama was 14 years old. It just came out 2 years that he was innocent. He was a young black boy. I saw another article 2 days ago about a man who was executed, I think, actually in Arkansas 4 years ago. He turns out he was innocent as well. So this is moral of the story. It's no different from when we talk about, Mitch McConnell lining up the local circuit courts with all of these lifetime appointments of judges to keep all these black and brown bodies in jail. It's all a part of a bigger
Lauren,
picture.
Absolutely. Regardless of one's politics, if we can agree that not everyone has been given a fair trial, which I believe everyone is entitled to, if we can agree that everyone is not always given a fair trial and that it is possible that someone who has been convicted of a capital crime and may be sitting on death row may not have received a fair trial, then I think it's not unreasonable to say that we need to do everything that we can to re-examine that case inside out. If we can spend the money and resources to house people, we can find money for different programs. At the very least, the sanctity of human life should be paramount. It should absolutely be something that we respect to say, we've got this right. If we are a society that has decided through our own judicial system, through laws, through the passage of bills that, you know what, I live in a state where I actually support the death penalty. Okay, got it. If that's indeed the case, then we need to make sure we also exercise the responsibility of having done it right.
Well, more importantly, the people that should be getting executed aren't getting executed because Dylan Roof is still alive, right? Last
Dylan
time
Roof
I
is definitely
checked,
still alive.
Kyle Rittenhouse
Kyle
is
Rittenhouse still alive.
out on bail, right? Last time I checked. So
and,
those that should be
Florida,
getting executed.
they said that he should be in office. One of the senators say he should be.
So more importantly, the people that should be getting executed, they're still alive and kicking, and those that are
I know this
innocent
is
aren't.
a very personal question. Y'all don't have to answer this if y'all want to. Do y'all believe in the death penalty?
I do. I think it applies in
I'm
certain
torn.
instances. I do.
Yeah.
I mean, eh.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I do.
Yeah.
I
I'm
think
with you, Lord. I do
in
too.
certain instances, hell yeah, he needs to be or he, she, whoever needs to be executed. In certain
Not he,
instances.
she. Not you said he.
I didn't say
girl.
he, she, we. I said he or she.
I was about to
should
slap that shit. Girl, let me get my hair.
Now, mind you, there are some who do wish he, she, we.
Oh.
Now, just so you know, the haters
Bring
out
it.
there, baby.
Let me tell you what makes me think that the death penalty is appropriate.
in certain instances.
In certain instances. Molesting a kid, all that, and consistently. Child molestation. Brutal shit. Just horrendous shit. Just that you don't even want to think of, and I don't even want to mention it by name, but things that are just
guy,
ridiculous.
you all know who I'm talking about. The guy who killed his wife and the kids. He could have just left her. You know what I'm talking about. The one, and he did that interview on TV talking about, somebody just help me find my wife.
That's
you
been
knew
a
where she
cover-up.
was when you dumped her in the silo.
Yeah.
You can't, and the kids. I can I'm going left. I can understand leaving her. I get that. People break up all the time. But I will never understand hurting the kids.
Well, that's Scott Peterson, and they're about to give him another trial.
I don't
Same
get
thing.
that.
He killed his wife, Well, 2 of them, wasn't it? Was it 2 wives?
No, one wife.
But
one
she was
wife.
pregnant.
She was pregnant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's 2
Yeah.
people.
It was 2 people. I knew what
Yeah.
you were saying.
Yeah.
That's like 2 people.
And now they giving him another try. This nigga ain't on death row.
Right.
Y'all should give this nigga the choice of a firing squad or either a fucking electric chair. I say get that nigga the gas. I want to see him turn yellow.
California.
California got the gas chamber?
No, California won't kill him.
We don't have a death
Gavin
penalty anymore.
Newsom, player, you know I still support you. Call me. You still my governor because I ain't voting for that other one.
Speaking of Gavin,
That nigga.
I have to say this.
Wait a minute before we do that. Before we go to Gavin, who I like, let's talk about that other nigga who trying to replace Gavin. The other nigga is Bruce Caitlin.
Oh,
Not
not nowhere even close. I just have to say this, not even to go into the Gavin thing there, but as we talk about this in California, I have to let everybody know. I posted the commercial on my Instagram page. There is literally a guy running for governor of California. Those of you who don't live in the state, I'm sitting there watching this commercial.
Caitlin?
He's walking with a bear. I'm not making this up. Only in California. Where you talk about how Florida's crazy. His name is Cox,
Wait a minute.
and they call him the angriest beast, the angriest nice beast. Or something. It's ridiculous.
He's walking with a bear?
He's walking with a bear, and the bear, get this, is SAG-AFTRA. The bear is actually has equity points.
Lots of animals do. Lots of animals do.
When the rest of us fight for representation and to make equity, here goes this bear walking around with an agent and everything.
Animals have rights too.
California.
Now, I'm saying this.
Oh
I'm saying
my
this publicly, and I'm saying it on this day. Don't be surprised if you hear within the next year that him and the bear is fucking. I said it.
Yeah.
I said it. I fucking said it.
Hey.
Baby, let me tell you something. They got some weirdos out here, baby. If we're going to do California, let's do it, baby.
Oh, no.
If you hear that him and the bear done got married, remember that you heard it here first.
Hey.
Mr. and Mrs. Bear.
Well, let's bring in a couple of
Good God.
flamettes to
Woo,
discuss.
because y'all had got heavy with that death penalty. I had to come back.
We're about to circle back and see what some of the flamettes think about it. We've got some of our favorites coming in right now. If y'all
Absolutely.
are available, let's see. So,
I want to hear them sound off
Smokey the
about
Bear,
everything.
baby.
Nick, you didn't say how you felt about the death penalty, though.
I don't know that I'm for it.
Okay.
But
Wait a minute. Let me give you. So I know you know everybody on here who watch. You know how much you adore your mom.
Yeah.
If somebody did something horrific to your mom, would you want that person
Good
to have the
question.
death penalty,
Good question.
That's a great question.
or would you
Yeah.
want to be a vigilante?
Yeah. The truth is, I think I tried to think what she wants. You know what I'm saying there? Like my mother
wanted to
does
live.
believe in the power of prayer. Like she believes God can save everybody. And I know, but my mother genuinely believes that prayer changes things.
I believe
Not
that.
that I don't, but I think her faith is a bit more fervent than my own, right?
I get that.
So she can understand that you want to pray with those who may have harmed you. I would rather,
I'd rather flip the switch. Fuck it, shit.
I was about to say,
I think that's what they
like-
should personally start doing too. If you hurt my family and you on that, you don't need to hire a guard and them. Just call, baby. I'll flip it. When? Oh, I flipped it too soon. Oh, okay. But I got them though, right?
should
Oh,
have turned it
boom.
off and back on one more time.
Yeah. You can play with it.
I'm gonna raise the light bill.
That was, you saw that in Taken. In Taken, yep.
Right.
Yep,
right.
exactly.
I'm gonna shock the shit out you.
Yep. Hey, Cassie.
I can see them. Hi, y'all.
Hi, Cassie.
So
We
what-
knew y'all were in. We was just we was having a moment.
Right. So what are your thoughts?
I say if it's a cold hard fact that you murdered somebody, you need to be murdered. Why do I gotta pay my taxes to support you 45 years because you're on life sentence? Dylan Roof killed those people, so he should be taken out. Why do I have to
wait,
support
now
you?
that's a great point. After praying in a black church, those people prayed for this nigga.
Yep.
And then he killed them
He
niggas.
turned
So
around,
exactly what you
yeah,
just said
yeah.
about your mom saying the
Right.
power. I do believe that the power of prayer worked. It didn't work that day.
And then here we go. There were people in that group whose family members sat there and said, you know what? I'm praying for him because
Yep.
that's what they would have wanted, those that they lost. That makes sense?
Yep.
Like, so,
I'ma pray for you too.
and I
That
don't know
don't mean
where
I
the
don't wanna
line should
take your
be.
life.
I don't know if it should be about what I'm feeling or if you really want to respect the wishes of that person and who they walked and how they walked in faith.
Y'all see
That
my
make
finger?
sense?
Y'all see my finger? What that mean? FTS. Flip the switch.
Oh, I thought you said forget this stuff. Okay,
Flip the
gotcha.
switch, baby.
Get this stuff.
Flip the
No,
switch.
but I don't think that's right. I understand being on death row or being life imprisonment, but we pay taxes and it costs a lot of money to keep people in jail for life. If it's a hard cold fact, like Dylan Roof, you went and murdered them people, then we should take your life. Period.
Hey, Mark.
That's my thoughts.
Hey guys, sorry, I don't know why it wasn't working.
You here now? It's okay. What are your thoughts?
I don't think I'm totally against the death penalty. If anyone thinks that it's yes, I get the tax dollar point, but people stay on death row. Some people die on death row. So really, if you look at the analytics of that, I don't know that we're going to save money from it. I think a true punishment is living your life in a cage and getting your ass beat every day. Honestly, but I do think that it's too risky putting. We shouldn't be allowed to make the decision of when someone's life ends. And there are too many times where innocent people die. As I said earlier in the comments, the Innocence Project is something that we have said once we die, like we would love all of our wealth to go to them because we don't have kids or anything, right? So I can't stand with the death penalty, and I think it should be abolished.
Mark, you know what you just said? That we don't have the choice to take somebody's life. Did the murderer?
Thank you.
Did the murderer have a choice?
And the consequence that they will have is
did the murderer, yes or no? Did the murderer have a choice on whether they was going to kill somebody innocent?
They didn't have the choice, but they did it.
But did they have a choice? Yes or no?
Yes.
Then I'm gonna kill their ass. FTS. Flip the switch.
And I think the other thing too, a part of this is that it's not I understand Cassie's point too, even about the tax dollars though, but I think it's also the sentiment of the family. You made this decision to take my loved one, even if it's not a loved one, everybody's body matters at the end of the day. We're all human beings. But you made, if from a family standpoint, you chose to take my loved one because of whatever your rationale was. I should also have the opportunity to say if your life should be taken as well. I just think that's a fair eye for an eye.
And then, Lauren, even to piggyback off of that, just to follow that logic, let's just even say if it's someone who may be indigenous and does not have a family, they still deserve to have that same protection. Absolutely. So yeah.
But let me tell you my story though. I have a family member whose husband took her life, choked her to death, and buried her up in the woods, and he's still serving. So every 5 or 10 years, my aunt has to go before the parole board to say no, he doesn't deserve to get out. Why do we have to keep reliving it over and over again?
The trauma.
If they would just kill him because he murdered her in plain cold blood, he murdered her, then we wouldn't have
in Washington State where you live.
Yes.
That's why I left Washington State. Y'all got way too many serial killers, and there's too many places to bury bodies. Didn't I say that? There's too many places to bury bodies in Washington. It's so much greenery, baby. You can get lost in the black bears, between the black bears and the crazy. Oh, baby, I had to come up out of Seattle.
I gotta agree with you on that one. When I went to Atlanta to go live for a couple of years, my mom was like, we looked out the window. She said, "Ooh, that's a lot of places to bury some bodies,
baby."
Yeah,
but that's what I'm talking about with the death with death penalty or life in prison. Every 10 years or so, she goes back and she goes before the board. No, he should not be released.
I think that's a bad judge, though, because why would you give someone, if it's clear, I'm sorry, not everyone deserves the right to parole. So the fact that that's even an option within itself is a problem. But again, I think with the innocent people who get put to death, and then the fact that, in my opinion, living out that reality that you killed someone and that you're serving your life in prison, oftentimes you're getting your ass beat depending on your crime. To me, that's a worse sentence than being
death
taken
row
out
is not
of
like
prison.
that, Mark. Death row is one person in a cell all day, so
it's
you're not in
gym pop.
Yeah.
So you're not around a bunch of people. And here's the thing. So that story, what you just said, Cassie, reads personal with me because Fantasia, who has shared this story publicly, had her throat cut. Fantasia almost died. She still has the very
scar.
prevalent cut across her throat. The guy, in 10 years, she had to go, and the judge let him out of jail. Partially, I believe, because she was transgender. I'm saying this publicly. Partially because she was a transgender woman. He cut her throat. Fantasia almost died. She talks about this story, and they let that nigga out of jail. She had to go to court, and she went, and she threw herself at the mercy of the court. She told her story. She cried. They still let that nigga out of jail. He walking around free right now. What if he decided that he wanted to do it again? She lived close enough to me. If the nigga watching, you don't want to do that while I'm this close. I promise you don't, because I wasn't at her house. Okay, so wait a minute. Let's go back to the original. Which one would you guys prefer? If you guys were on death row, would you prefer firing squad or
blow my brains out?
Nah, give me the lethal injection.
No.
That's not an option. What's the option? Firing squad or electric chair?
Ooh, just shoot me. Damn it.
Well, and with the firing squad, you don't know if you have the loaded gun or not,
Right,
because what
right.
they do is load up
Line
maybe
up
like
9.
8 or 9 people,
horrible.
and only one person has a bullet, a live round.
So they
in
don't
their
have to
gun.
carry that guilt.
So they don't have to carry the guilt. So you never know who killed. The rest
Right.
of them are all blank. So you
Right.
never know whether you kill somebody or
But
not.
we're all aiming at Mark's forehead. We just don't know which one of us is the one
Right.
with the.
Mark said, "Why me?"
Well, I don't see Mark wanting the electric chair. The electric chair is a less glamorous way to go
And
out.
plus, Mark likes showing off his booty, so you know he wants to stand as opposed to sitting.
And listen, the injection is not peaceful. The injection is a horrible way to die.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard that.
It is.
Yeah.
You are literally like almost suffocating to death. Like the
Yeah.
injection.
It's
No,
like- yeah.
it's not. It's not like they're putting you an extra dose of anesthesia and goodnight seeing sheep in the clouds. That's not how it is. No.
Watch me be
Count
messy.
sheep.
Watch me be messy. The injection is kind of like the second dose of the Pfizer or the Moderna's.
See,
Moderna. Did
I
you say
said it right.
Moderna?
Moderna's. We don't want to get sued, so I'm going to say it wrong. Moderna's.
you will not rest until Fauci comes.
Thank you, Cassie.
Thank you guys so
Mark.
much.
You guys, last thing I want to bring up, because I thought this was funny and we kind of laughed about it earlier. U.S. Airlines may start weighing passengers at the gate. U.S. Airlines may need to start weighing passengers in order to comply with FAA rules. For safety reasons, carriers have been carrying too much weight.
We know you're not a Trojan.
And they've had to adjust either fuel or baggage requirements.
Well, now, that's not fair, because after the pandemic, we all done got a little weighty.
And unfortunately, some passengers, believe it or not, need 2 belts to sit in passenger seats, but they're only paying for 1 ticket.
I've seen
Well, I'll just say this. If you know you are a larger person, you should absolutely buy 2 seats. That is just the courteous thing to do, especially with COVID going on. I have been on a plane where there has been a bigger person in the middle seat, and I'm looking at them like, damn well you should not be sitting in the middle seat. You need an aisle. So I don't agree. You can't weigh me. That's my personal business.
Yeah, that's disrespectful.
That's no.
And just so we're clear,
Do not do that.
other countries already weigh passengers. Netherlands, Uzbekistan, China, and
what's the weight requirement though?
The weight requirement is that you can comfortably sit in the seat. So if you are spilling over,
No, I feel in the seat.
not a weight
but yeah,
requirement.
that's not a weight requirement though, because some people are tall and their weight is in their height.
In
Like
height,
Lauren
yeah.
is tall. She's
Right.
not a big girl, but she's a
Right.
tall person,
Right.
so there's more weight in her height.
Mhm.
That's not
Exactly.
fair. Now that ain't fair.
You're like, well, what
But I'm like, before y'all start talking about that the U.S. Airlines is fat shaming. There is no such thing as fat shaming. Let's go back and revisit
right.
that. Fat shaming is a process. It takes time to get it off. It takes time to put it on.
It would make more sense to me if they said we got to measure your waist size, and if you're over
Right,
this
and
type
you
of
can't
waist
fit the
size, then
extender, you can't fit the belt, yeah.
Yeah, that makes more sense. You can't weigh me and
But they got to
determine my
stop
weight.
putting big people in the middle. I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Because you all over on my side and shit. I can't even
It's
sit comfortably.
spilling
Your
this
hips
way,
sticking me in
and
my
you're
ass.
spilling with your arms this way, so you need 2
I'm
seats. You
wide,
should know
Nick
better.
wide, Lauren wide. I'm just saying, we can't ride in the row.
Excuse me, I am not wide. I am not wide. I am tall.
The Lord is tall.
Don't do that to me.
Oh!
Words have energy.
Oh my God.
Wait a
Words
minute.
That's my
Wait a
payback,
minute.
because I almost slapped her earlier.
I
So
know.
that's my
I'm
payback.
sensing some hostility
No,
here.
but
My goodness.
look at me in this
Do we
seat.
need to
I'm
talk?
wide. I'm wide in this seat. Nicholas wide across the air. So imagine us. No, it's serious. But imagine us and especially like, let's just say, for instance, Southwest Airlines. I'm not putting nobody on blast, but the seats are very standard. Now we ain't even talking about Spirit, because bitch, those are baby seats.
You know,
Those are
I
car
think
seats.
Southwest is better than Delta.
You're tripping.
You've been on. That means you've been in the cheap seats on Delta.
I fly
You
Delta
ain't-
Comfort.
You ain't rolled Delta up in the front.
Delta
Business or
is
first class.
the worst. Let's be very
Oh,
clear.
no, I love Delta.
Oh no, absolutely.
Lauren
Not.
didn't turn me on to
United is the
Delta.
only one. Let me be very
United?
clear. United is the only one that has normal leg room for normal people.
You haven't
Anyone
been
else-
in the nice Delta planes. You haven't
because
been in them.
there aren't any.
There
That's
are.
just it.
No,
The
there
Delta
are.
Delta
There are.
Comfort, and that is like.
You
Delta.
haven't- Hold on.
His
You
views
haven't-
are not the project.
No,
of
not
this show.
at all. No.
The views expressed, the views expressed by
No.
Nicholas do not
No.
reflect those on
Say
this
it,
podcast.
Nick.
Not at all. We need
Or
we need a
his own.
disclaimer for this
I
episode.
love that.
No, because have you been on the Delta planes where the first class turns into beds? Turns into
Pods,
beds.
Yes, baby.
You've been in the pods that open and close. International planes.
To be clear, I usually only fly Delta internationally. Let me just say that
Because they just upgraded their planes
Yeah.
and they're very nice.
And I will say this: Delta Comfort is fine. You do not want the mistake of possibly being rebooked on a flight and not having your Delta Comfort. that's when you'll pay the price, being a person who's larger.
Well, yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. I'm tall.
So,
my legs are like
but
this.
Southwest,
if
I have
seven.
found, for the most part, Southwest is a flying bus. They don't try to be anything more
Southwest
than
is not a bus. I'm not gonna do Southwest like the bus is Spirit. First of all, Spirit will break your spirit. Understand that.
Spirit is a tram. Spirit don't even want to give you a seat. They're like,
Spirit
do we have to give you a seat?
Spirit don't be having accidents though. Real talk. They don't be having accidents.
I didn't hear that. I've heard they've had several accidents.
Well, they must not make them
Spirit
public.
is one that make you share the seatbelt. They we got one.
Well,
seat.
yeah, you
Was
gotta,
it you that told me that they was trying to get people to stand
Stand
up like
up.
the Riddler
They
revenge
did.
ride at Six Flags?
in the words of the Bible, the Spirit. See,
Is
the
what-
Spirit will overtake you. Oh man, I got a show to do.
Oh, my
I
God.
love you guys. Thank you so much for joining us
Ridiculous.
today for Laugh and Learn.
That
You guys
went
have been
quickly.
amazing. When I tell you that the Flamettes, y'all chimed in today and gave us Jericho. Oh my God, thank you. Vesper,
yes.
Cassie. Who else came
Allison.
on? Allison started
Mark.
off the ball roll. We thank you guys so much because this show would not be this show without you guys transferring this information to us. Spirit is Section 8. Baby, Spirit is Section 7.5. Fucking Section 8 back there. Thank you guys so much for
Oh,
the
my
information.
goodness.
And here at Laugh and Learn, we have a motto that we tell you each and every week. And the motto is what, Nick?
We are not trying to get anybody to change their mind.
We are simply trying to get you guys to use your mind because why, Flame?
If you don't have one, then you fucked up. That's why you come here to learn.
Got a
And we
little
all
ad
have
lib this
mine.
week.
We wanna let
Got a little
folks
ad
hold
lib
on
this
to
If
week.
you don't have a mind, let me go black. Let me get Keisha on you. No. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Please follow Nick Smith on all social media platforms at Nick Smith News. That's Instagram, Facebook. No, he don't have Facebook. Instagram,
Twitter.
YouTube, Twitter, all that. Please follow Lauren Hogan on YouTube, Lauren Hogan, and Lauren Armani H on Instagram and on
That's it.
Facebook. You
I don't use Facebook.
I don't really
so
use
don't
them.
follow me.
I mean, I'm on there.
Don't follow me on
Please
Facebook.
follow me, please follow me, Monroe Flame here on Instagram, Marcus Flame on Parker on Facebook, and on Twitter, Flame_Monroe. Actually, don't follow me on Twitter.
I'm about to say.
Don't follow my page on
Your
Twitter.
Twitter
Talk
is
to us
used for
about
something
the
specifically.
upcoming show dates.
Well, first of all, my whole page on Twitter is porn. Do not follow my
I'm about to
Twitter
say,
page.
we don't want you to follow
Twitter
the
is
page.
just the new porn.
Yeah, no,
Period. Apologies again for Delaware that I could not make it. It was an unforeseen instances that was beyond my control. I had absolutely nothing to do with it. I took the blame the first time. I will not take the blame for this time. I'm sorry for people who bought
Absolutely.
tickets, and I hope that you can get your refund because we did our part on this end, so he can do his part on that end.
Yep.
I will never come to that club in Delaware. That's not to say that I will not come to Wilmington, Delaware. I just won't come to that club. We got a bunch of stuff coming up, but I got a big thing today, and I can't talk about it, but I'll show y'all pictures later. I'm out of here. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Thank you, Kendall. Thank you, Tribble. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Flamettes, for making Laugh and Learn this show.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Y'all say goodbye. I'm out.
We will see you guys next week. Thank you.
I'm going to get pretty.